What's up, guys? It's Josh here, back with another Kansas City Chiefs live Q&A. Gonna let some people start to get in here first, so we can get some questions and comments down below to get us started. Really feels good to do one of these again, though, because I haven't done one in a while. But a lot has happened since I've really made done a live stream. I have made some videos on some topics that have come up as of recently, mostly the Frank Clark stuff, which everyone knows of. But since those two videos, I haven't done too much like Chiefs content as of recently. It's just been a slow time of the year. But as we get more people in the live stream and you guys start asking questions and stuff, hopefully then we can go ahead and get rolling like we typically do. Usually we're able to get a good crowd in here and get good discussion and dialogue going. So yeah, that being said, like, guys, just start asking questions, say what's up, let me know you're here, and we'll go ahead and get started. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe as well, so we get more people to see this. The more you like it, the better we get in the search results. And then you can always support the channel by sending a super chat and make sure your question gets answered. But all that being said, let me know if you're here, start asking questions, and we'll get going. But I'll let you guys get some questions, but as you guys are doing that, I did want to throw in that Frank Clark, that whole situation. Let's just start with that. I got my own opinions on Frank Clark. I assume a lot of your guys' questions towards me will be about Frank Clark too, just like, what do you think is going to happen, or what do you think of this, or what do you think of that? And given that I am a notorious Frank Clark hater, I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to hearing from me when it comes to that. But one thing I will say is that, Clark has just done everything that you don't want a $100 million defensive end to do. Like, or not even just defensive end, just $100 million player. If you sign someone to a $100 million contract and then made a list of things that you should not do after signing that contract, Frank Clark has done just about everything you would put on that list, such as play poorly, do stuff off the field to get you in trouble. Like, it's not a good look for Frank. And, all that to go on top of his disappointing play, it's sad, really. It really is, because he's not in a position to be doing that. Looks like we got about a handful of people here. Guys, go ahead, start asking questions, get stuff going in the chat. I know you guys are out there, and it's been a while since I've done one of these, so I might not have as many viewers as I typically do, but yeah. GFKC, he's in the chat now. He goes, he's went to 2 Super Bowls. I guess you're referring to Clark. So here's the problem I had with the Super Bowl thing. People are saying that we won the Super Bowl and that we've been to 2 Super Bowls with Clark on roster, and they're taking that fact and trying to turn it into we've been to 2 Super Bowls like because of Clark. Like, I guarantee, like, guys, if Frank Clark wasn't on the team, do you honestly think the Chiefs don't make the Super Bowl? Like, and I'm not saying just take away Clark, like swap him out for an average defensive end. Like, do you think the Chiefs don't make the Super Bowl 2 years in a row? I still think they make the Super Bowl. I still think they win the Super Bowl in 2020, or not 2020, sorry, 2019. Because one of my big, criticisms of Clark is people talk about that 2019 postseason and what a great run he had. That was largely overrated. He didn't have a great win rate in those playoffs. 3 of his 5 playoff sacks came in the fourth quarter when the Chiefs were up by 2 touchdowns or more, essentially garbage time. And then his other 2 sacks, that would be one where Deshaun Watson ran around for 10 seconds, coverage sack. And then the other one was in the Super Bowl, which Jimmy Garoppolo had 4 seconds in the pocket. And throughout that Super Bowl, Frank Clark had 2 pressures on 29 pass rushing snaps. That's not great. I still think the Chiefs win the Super Bowl without Clark. Like, he just was not that impressive. He wasn't. And I still think they make the Super Bowl in 2020 without Clark. And that's because they made the Super Bowl in 2020, even though Clark largely had a bad season. By all accounts, I mean, the Chiefs, the offensive line was beat to hell, and Patrick Mahomes still willed that team to the Super Bowl. And honestly, let me ask you this. If Patrick Mahomes doesn't will the Chiefs back into that Texans divisional playoff game, or to a win in Super Bowl LIV, the Frank Clark deal is viewed as a complete and utter failure. Like, it just is, because then you can't go back and say, oh, well, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl with Frank Clark. And I see a lot of people now on Twitter are starting to justify the Clark deal by saying, oh, but his vocal leadership can't be measured. Like, there's plenty of guys out there, I promise you. Oh, see, here you go. GKC. FC brings leadership and our D-line isn't good anyway. Here's the thing, though, Jeef. Frank Clark, the vocal leadership thing is totally overstated, because when you say stuff like that, you make it sound like as if the defensive linemen we had before we brought in Frank Clark weren't vocal leaders. Justin Houston was definitely a vocal leader, but Justin Houston played on an overall shitty defense. If Justin Houston was plugged in, and mind you, Justin Houston has had basically identical production to Clark the past 2 seasons and for a much cheaper price. If you had Justin Houston instead of Frank Clark on the 2019 and 2020 teams, do you think that we would view him as more of a vocal leader, given the fact that the defense would probably still be good if you plugged in Justin Houston for Frank Clark? Like, that whole vocal leadership thing is just wildly overstated. Like, there are plenty of guys out there for way less than Frank Clark who produce more than Frank Clark that can talk trash or be a vocal leader. Like, and to be honest, I credit more the changing of the defense to Tyrann Mathieu rather than Frank Clark. Because let's remember, too, Frank Clark, when the Chiefs brought him in, that was because they wanted someone that could set the edge a little bit more than a pass rusher like Dee Ford. And they moved on from Justin Houston as well. But let's be honest. Like, even though that defensive line wasn't great at stopping the run, the defensive line was still a strength before they brought in Frank Clark. The secondary was the real problem. The defensive line was not a weakness before Clark came. So to say that he like transformed the defensive line or something like that's just not accurate. He's viewed as this good run defender, but if you look at the run defense the past 2 years, still it hasn't been great anyway. So what has Frank Clark really done? I mean, he just hasn't done much. And the whole vocal leadership thing, it's overstated. He's not a great leader. Here's the thing. The person that you're calling a leader is currently facing felony charges. Like, come on. You want to call this guy a leader and he's facing felony charges. Yeah, that's a great leader right there. Great leading by example, Frank. And one of the frustrating parts about that as well is the fact that Clark, actually, no, Chief, you got me on something else. So now you're saying that Houston couldn't do anything in the playoffs. LOL. Justin Houston had more pressures in the playoffs against Brady than Frank Clark when they played. Okay. Yeah. Frank Clark had that one sack at the beginning of the game in the Super Bowl this past season. But then after that, he did nothing. The team got 4 pressures on Brady all night. And again, the Frank Clark thing, he has the most playoff sacks in franchise history. Why is that, though? Because the Chiefs now have a team that has been built to consistently make deep runs in the playoffs. I guarantee you, if you put Houston back on the Chiefs now that they're consistently making deep runs. Remember, when Alex Smith was the quarterback and Justin Houston, was playing defensive end and everything like that, Justin Houston only had that 1 year with Mahomes, and the rest of the defense was terrible. So, again, you can't really put it on Houston all that much. But the thing with the Chiefs now is that they have a team that can consistently make deep runs, which means Frank Clark has more opportunities to get sacks. I guarantee you Houston would do pretty damn well if the Chiefs made it beyond the divisional round consistently, which now they do. But he's not on the team anymore, so now you can't say that. But let's not act like Frank Clark is this, man in the playoffs, because I mentioned it earlier. His playoff stats are overrated, and the whole leadership thing is overrated too. It's overstated. Like, there are plenty of guys out there that can talk trash. Okay, like, yeah, Frank Clark has an edge to him, and it's good to have. But let me ask you this, okay? Frank Clark, everything Frank Clark has done now. He's played poorly the past 2 years. He's been disappointing. Okay. Now he's gotten arrested twice in the past few months for the same offense. Okay. And he gets paid more than everyone on the team, including Patrick Mahomes. He has a higher cap hit than Patrick Mahomes this year. So I'm willing to bet there are some teammates on the Chiefs. They may not say it publicly. There may be people out there that'll tell you, "Oh no, they love Frank." I guarantee you that there are some players that look at Frank Clark a little funny at practice or in the locker room, given the fact that he makes more than everyone, yet he plays poorly and is a bad example off the field. You really think players want him to be the leader, given what I just said? No, they don't. I guarantee you, if they cut Frank Clark loose, there would be no hard feelings with the rest of the team and the front office. Like, Frank Clark, he's just. I'm done talking about him. Manuel says Frank Clark, great player. No, he's not a great player. I just disagree. He's just not. He has a big problem of flying straight. With a month to go, the team must find Clark's replacement ASAP. I don't think they need to find. I don't think they need to find his replacement right now. I mean, they need to find a temporary, like, Band-Aid kind of player, though, especially if he misses time. Someone like a Melvin Ingram, a Justin Houston. We've talked about it over and over again. Someone like that could provide pass rush for this team while Frank Clark is gone, even though Frank Clark's pass rushing numbers have been pretty atrocious, to be quite honest. Yeah, and you get my point. Connor's in here. He's saying, why do people think Clark is a good player? He's an okay player that's playing on a great player salary is the issue. Okay, Jeef says Clark played hurt all of last year. Okay, here's the thing with that, though. There was Frank Clark, even if he was injured, well, then he was injured the year before, too, when he had the stomach virus, and everyone gives him a pass for that. Well, then at some point, we also have to admit the Frank Clark deal was a bad deal because he's never healthy. So that's also an issue. Like, yeah, you can give him this excuse that he was hurt, but... And then G says, LOL, Ingram can't stay healthy. Okay, hold on. Let me disprove you right here. Okay? Melvin Ingram, and you can't use an argument saying that Melvin Ingram can't stay healthy and then come in here and defend Clark like that. They can't go both ways. But here's the thing with Melvin Ingram. Melvin Ingram, if I can get this on my screen. See, and this is why Chiefs fans, you guys annoy me a little bit, because you guys like to call it, like, all players that aren't on our team injury prone. But in reality, let's look at Melvin Ingram's games played here. And you guys did the same thing with Julio Jones talks for him. Like, come on. Melvin Ingram only played 7 games in 2020. So, yes, disappointing year as far as games played. He had some injury issues. However, if you look at 2019, he played 13 games. 2018, he played 16 games. 2017, he played 16 games. 16 games, 16 games. Saying that Ingram can't stay healthy is not accurate. Yeah, he had one bad year, and he's getting a little bit older as far as games played. But people get unlucky sometimes. They get in a year where they get a bad injury, it nags them for the year, and there's not much they can do about it. Ingram just happened to have one of those years. But that stay healthy is just not accurate. And you guys tend to do with all these free agent and trade ideas is saying this guy can't stay healthy because he missed 5 games in 2020. Like, come on. He deserves a chance to be on a roster. Like, yes, there may be some injury concerns, which is why he's not signed yet, but he deserves to be on a roster because of that passing ability. God. Yeah, Frank Clark, I'm done talking about him. Let's talk about something else. Get your questions and comments in the chat, and we'll talk about other stuff. But moving on to training camp. So training camp is coming up here pretty soon. Ingram did not blow an ACL. He did not have an ACL injury. In fact, it was not